Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to another Supercoach Insider podcast. My name is Swizz. Here on Friday night, we are counting down to Footscray versus Collingwood. Congratulations to the Western Bulldogs, Footscray, on their 100-year anniversary tonight. Hope they go well. Obviously, the Pie supporters won't be thinking that, but nonetheless, I think they got a soft spot for most people out there, so we do wish them all the best. Before I jump into the show, as always, check us out on all our social media platforms, in particular YouTube, Spotify. Get in touch with us via X, Supercoach Insider 100, and Swizz26 for me directly. Well, what a day. Teams. There's been a few changes. I think I should probably actually share that more than what I've got with my Supercoach team, because that's the carnage has begun. So no surprise. It has only taken us 1 week, and we've got a few massive changes. So I think I might even just pop that up as I scroll through here. Final teams for Sunday. Because there is a massive one, and we'll talk about it. I think that's going to be a lot of the questions tonight. What the hell we do with a one West Coast ruckman in Matty Flynn. So I think I'll just bring up those teams, and we'll talk about the team changes, and we'll get into everything else. But I know a lot of people have been messaging me, and I'm like, well, I'm going live at 6:40. It's going to be hard for me to answer all your questions one after each other. So yes, if you have not heard the news, it is a massive change here for the West Coast team, which was really surprising because they did name Flynn in their original lineup. And then, Bailey Williams has come in. So, firstly, tonight, the subs, Ned Long. So, a lot of people were looking at Ned Long as an option. Didn't think that was going to be a good one because, obviously, he was not the sub last week because Pendles was, and they kind of vice versa. So, if you are bringing in Ned Long, you might want to reverse that trade straight off. So, one to straight away think about there. And Oscar Baker is the other sub. Now let's get down to the important stuff. So we go down to Sunday, and this is the big game. So Brisbane versus West Coast. The Lions in Day, McLaughlin, Revel out, Starcevich, Lohman, and Fort. We don't really care about that. What we do care about is West Coast in Ryan, Bailey, Jay Williams, and Petrocelli out. And this is the surprising thing. Flynn being dropped. Jake Waterman is out injured, and they have still dropped Flynn, and then Hutchison is out injured as well. So what this means for West Coast is their emergency is Johnson, Flynn, and Bo Allen, who did not make the trip over. Did talk about this last week, how ill he actually was. So they're not going to debut him, probably comes next week. So, that's a very interesting one. So we look at that West Coast team. Williams in the ruck. Forward line, Archer Reid keeps his spot as the forward, and they're only running the two talls as well. So this is big, especially if you have Flynn as your R2. So we'll actually get into what that means for your teams in a moment, but that's the first news. So if you haven't heard that, that's the big news. Matt Flynn dropped, and this is going to kill people who've got R2. I've just been talking to Jovan, last year's winner, about that. He is one of those guys. So, yes. And then we've got North Melbourne. The big one there for some people will be Langford is out. So he's been left out. Spargo, Turner, and Woden out Windsor. Windsor's been a popular draft option for a lot of people. So out Johnson, who was the backup forward ruck, and then Langford, and then Logan Archer for Stevens and Pink. There is Langford on the emergency list too. The good thing there, a lot of people looking at Xavier Lindsay has currently been named on the wing. I did say this last week. I like his role better than Langford going forward. There was an obvious role for him. Fino Sutherland, he's on a little bit of thin ice for a few teams. We really wish he was in that sort of halfback role. McKercher has been named there. It'll be interesting to see how that pans out during the day. Henderson is in that last spot, so just a mindful for the 99K rookie. He could be a sub option this week. Rivers, you wouldn't think so. Then it probably comes down to Sharp, Woden, and Turner. And the lucky last one, and another big one. So Fremantle, not so much, but Fremantle is Bolton, Erasmus, Voss out, Liam Reedy, Swilkowski, and Warner. Shai Bolton obviously making his debut for the Swans. In Sheldrick, he's back. Laddams and McLean out. Ben Patton. And then McInerney and Melican with now Riley Bice being named on the half back line. Did look good. Patton was subbed out. He is in that emergency position. And that will mean for Fremantle as well, Luke Jackson will be the sole ruck for those people who do have him forward. So it didn't take long. It's very frustrating because Jackson did quite well last week. And I probably would have started Jackson if I knew Liam Reedy was not an option. So massive news with these teams. Nothing better than on Sunday. And we're sort of trying to plan our teams on a Thursday. And yes, this happens to our team. So great. So where I was originally not going to trade, yes, I will be trading now. But we'll talk about that in a minute. We'll get into your questions and we'll go from there. All right. Yes, Houdini, let's go. And global, there it is. Schmozzle. Nothing better than that, mate. This is what we live for in Supercoach. So, yeah, it's all happening there. So do we trade Flynn for a rookie? We missed out, or go up to a mid-pricer like the Conning if you have the cash. So this is the ultimate question. Now, this depends on what you are planning to do next week. So the couple of people I've had the chance to reply to so far, I've just gone straight out. You've got to think forward planning with your trades. So right now for me, with the way it looks like for Collingwood's lineup, the fact that we've got no Ned, Collingwood have got no Ned Long in that midfield today, which means Pendles is back in. So Pendles, Dacos, side bottom, and Perryman, the updated team list. Where is Perryman? Starting actually off on the bench tonight. So that is alarm bells for me. Feel like he's probably going to play half back like he sort of did last week, or defensive midfielder and tagging. So they'll sort of alternate between the both. It's not kind of what we wanted. I felt like I was willing to give him one more chance if Long was named on even though Long's had a lot of CBAs, but I felt like, maybe Long's the one that gets subbed out eventually and Perryman kind of takes up the a little bit more of the time, but no. So Perryman, you are out of my side, and I am going to go with the young fella, Riley Bice, and then Flynn is also getting out of my side. So I'm making the two trades, and I'm going to renege on what I said. And Bailey Smith, you finally get into my side, buddy. He showed what I needed to see. I did say it's not that I didn't want Bailey Smith. I just wanted to see it in Geelong colours. I wanted to see how he came back from the ACL. So it's not that I don't think he was a bad pick at all. I just needed to actually see it because, as I said, round 0, if they went ahead, he wasn't going to play, and there were a few concerns about it. Everyone's gone there, so it's just an easy correction for me going those two. So that then frees up for me about 180K. And then that gives me the ability next week to do certain stuff with my side. So Sardis, Fino Sutherland, Sam Powell-Pepper, all these rookies in my side who are kind of on thin ice as more expensive rookies. If having the 180K means potentially, if they all go well, I can throw a Hasty up to a Xavier Lindsay. I can also go up and get one of these other failed rookies up to Nathan O'Driscoll if I want to do that. It also gives me the option if, I can potentially go one down and, by throwing the 180K plus some cash onto, say, a Fino Sutherland, I might able to get up there to I'm trying to think of his name, Finn Callahan. So like a Sutherland's 200K, you put 180K on that. That's pretty well 380, give or take $1,000. And then, I might need 60K to get up to Callahan, and that's through say a Powell-Pepper or a Sardis. So that's where I'm thinking long-term here. So if you already have the cash and you think, yes, you've got O'Driscoll or you've got Lindsay and you're not going to need the cash to get up to some of these rookies next week, then yes, you go mid-prices. A couple of people have actually messaged me and said, I've got all the rookies I pretty well think I'm going to need. I've got the money to do it. I'm actually going one down, or I'm going straight up, Perryman straight up to Bailey Dell. Love it. Beautiful. It's obviously a guy that could be top 6 this year. Looks really good. I did play around with that quickly, but I feel like unless I go Henderson, I'm going to be just short of doing it, and that's not the move I want to go. So I think Flynn, and now this is answering the question of Flynn in your flex, because Flynn at R2 is a completely different scenario. So I don't get caught out here, guys, because I've done this before. I've been talking on the show and I've actually missed lockout once before. So nothing worse than having that situation happen to me. So I know Bice has the bye next week. It's best 18. He's a rookie, and Perryman was going to have the bye anyway. So it doesn't really change anything from my point of view there. The fact that they have clearly shown that biases the mature age guy that they want in there. It does make it like a lot more confidence that he's the one that I feel like they're going to want long term. So he comes in for me, and then Flynn. It's just such an easy one to now. And now I'm hoping Holmes is the one that cops the tag and it's not Bailey Smith, but at least I'll be in there with everybody. And it's just the only thing I've missed is the points from, realistically it was Flynn, but say Perryman up to Smith last week. So in a perfect world, I was thinking maybe fade one more week, but the St Kilda matchup does scare me because Rankin playing in a similar role absolutely dominated the Saints last week. So what's that leave me with? 179,700, so nearly 180,000. So that's for, as I was saying, forward planning for next week. I know there's a couple of rookies there, O'Driscoll and Xavier Lindsay. I get a good look at. Especially Lindsay for me because I'm going to the North Melbourne game, so I can actually go watch him live and I can go watch Finn O'Sullivan live. So nothing better for me to actually go watch them and see them in the flesh and see how they actually perform. I'm also going to go to the Essendon Adelaide game. I want to watch Sardis closely. I want to watch Rankin. There's a couple other players, Sid Draper. So great opportunity because sometimes watching on TV you don't get to see the full story. I'm got the weekend off, so I'm going to make the most of it for me and for you guys and actually track some of these players. So that's where I'm at. Thank you, Houdini. Do appreciate it. I was big on him, as you know. Yes, Global, exactly. So the DeConning one, I spoke about this at length on Wednesday night with the Q&A session and did talk about the fact that it's not like he's a bad pick. I had no issue with the pick at all, and I think he scores reasonably well. The problem is this week it's Marshall, so they've dropped Boyd. So up against Marshall, it's a better ruck. How does he go against that? And then what happens of the Gawn situation? Because they have still continued to say Reece Stanley will play. Nothing doesn't, to me, seems to change from that part. So I am kind of worried if we go to the situation where, we get to that round 4 and then what happens? They share the game. There's a different situation. So there is a little bit of a worry there for me if I was to go to Conning. But I'm like, no problem if people want to go there and pick that, too easy. But I just think is still some risk if that's the way you want to go. So, just a word of warning I've kept putting out there. But, if like for whatever reason, Stanley gets injured between here and there and he can still put a 70 game up and that, it's still going to be pretty good for you going forward. All right, let's keep going through these. I'm going to do my best to try to get to the kind of the Draftstars stuff too, but we'll see because this is obviously some big changes and people are messaging me. I've got people on here, so I will try my best to get through everybody. As I always try to do. What's Dwayne's thing? If you call, you get on. If you comment, you get on. All right. Caleb, hey, Swizz, brought in Levi Ashcroft and Xavier Lindsay for Flynn and Hasty. Cool. Bit worried about how I can grab Nod next week because my only path is through Sardis or Finn or Sutherland. The good thing is that you still got a path to do that. And I feel like one might not be good and one might be great. There's a few people who commented last time, especially on my Wednesday chat, and I'll see if I can get that name because appreciate the person who commented. But there is definitely an issue there with sort of Sardis's game. Does he? What was the comment here? I think it was Pete. So Pete's comment was problem with Sardis. I won't say he's a dud, but he's he does fumble, and then he does have those lack of kicking skills, and then his tackling's an issue where Hobbs is more of a tackler. So it could be a case where I even do it on the set. Like if Sardis is named sub tomorrow, see you later. He's out of my side. So that could be an easy one still to do. So no problems there, but at least we get to have a look at both of them. And it could be just a case if like there is a world where Nod doesn't go well this week. And if Nod only puts up a 60, you go, well, maybe he isn't a must-have because that 91 will cycle out this week. And let's just say Sardis and Finn O'Sullivan both get 90s. Well, you're more likely to keep them and you can there's no harm in missing a rookie like that. You've got all the other rookies, so there's no problems with that. But at least you've got, one of these Sardis or Finn O'Sullivan doesn't go well, bang, move him off and make that happen. So, you've got a couple of options there. So it's not the kind of end of the world. Michael Hastway's got Finn, Sardis, and Hasty bench. Thinking trading Hasty to Lindsay, yes. Bench Sardis as emergency, yep. If Sardis score poor, I'll leave it. If score well, reverse trade Finn in and loses. Look, piece of cake, mate. You're all over it. Michael. So I like that. That's all good. Hey, Swizz, I traded. So who's that? I traded Callahan, Perry, and Hobbs. Yep. Did you know who did you trade that to, Bags? Yeah, write that a little bit better just so I can understand exactly who you've traded. Oh, yeah, I think you've actually added some more, so I'll get to that in a second. Campo being sub-sut, but you think he continues to get games. I was shocked on this. So I did say I'll do a bit of a review of last night's game. Wow. So firstly, people make mistakes all the time. Umpires, officials, players make tons of mistakes. They miss goals, they miss targets and stuff like that. So I'm a little bit like, it happens. It's the world we live in. At the same time, the official did make a massive mistake last night. I think that was when the Blues were 16 points up when Cherry kicked that goal. I'm just double checking that moment. It was no, so they were up by 10 points at that point. So 10 points up, Cherry kicks that goal. DeConning gets a free for the 666 in the middle. It should have actually been a 50-meter. And then DeConning gets the 50-meter kick, is now kicking a goal from 50 meters out with a chance to put the Blues up by 16 points just before halftime. That doesn't happen. They turn over they give it to the kick, goes down to Motlop. He misses. They run up the other end. Hardwood kicks the goal. It's a 5-point game. Now, that's not saying. So that potentially does change the game. So I did say, guys, if I just dropped out there, I do apologize. So could have, we don't know. We just don't know in that situation. But the ramifications for us from a super coach point of view, huge, because now we got a situation where DeConning, could have had extra points for the goal, an important goal. So a lot of people vice captain him, got a 104. Maybe the situation's different in the second half too. The game's closer. Maybe they leave Camporelli on a little bit longer. Maybe they sub somebody else. What ends up happening is then Silvani got a bit of a corky or something like that. Charlie Kernell was really struggling. So, could have they lasted a little bit longer? And then that situation happened. So there's all these little ramifications. That potential muck up by the interchange Stewart changes the game going forward. We don't know, and that Hawks probably still good enough to win. But yeah, there's just a couple of parts to that, which is kind of an interesting, to think what could have happened out of that. But DeConning Gray, I thought Camporelli still, again, he was fine. I think the problem was like Motlop played reasonably well last night, so shout out to him. The key tools were really struggling from Carlton. And as we said, Kernell should have been the one that was taken off, but they wanted to keep the structure of the tools, and then allowed Silvani to be the third and still gave them sort of options. But I would have thought the better idea would have kept Camporelli on, maybe move one of those other tools off and gone small. But Carlton seemed to like to kick the ball and bomb it high and not look at the targets. I thought, he was reasonably good. He had the 9 touches. The worry is that there was only the 9 touches. There was no tackles in a game that was pretty pressurized. So, does he potentially become one that gets chopped out? His days could be a little bit numbered, and that may be a little bit worried going forward. But I thought he's probably done enough to hopefully keep his spot. The hard thing is Harry Mackay comes back next week. Do they do a restructure? So he could be potentially a starting sub next week. So his cash flow going forward might stagnate a little bit. So it's a little bit of a worry going forward. But we can only hope, because I thought, the things that he did was reasonable enough. Anyway, that's probably enough about that. Except for John Newcomb, what an awesome game he played. And Wardy, well, we've got a lot of questions about that this week. I'd probably get up now, the projections up now, but there's obviously a lot going on. So we'll worry about answering all these questions. Yes, with Dave. Yeah, wanted to score. So what did you say there, Baggers? Baz Nod and either Fraser or SDK, as next week it's day out, and Sardis with short for Callahan. Okay. So that's fine. I think again, this is the hard thing with SDK and Fraser. At least you know what you're getting from SDK. He's playing ruck this week. He's playing ruck next week. Probably playing halfback or rested or whatever against Melbourne. Fraser. At least he's got that halfback role. Looks really good, and it's him and Bailey Dale who's got a monopoly with Bailey Day, absolute monopoly on, and then Fraser's the second guy. I probably personally I'd rather see a week, and then I feel like Fraser's going to show enough that, yeah, maybe it's him. But yeah, I think it's a much of a muchness. It's, they're both going to have pros and cons, probably both going to go up in some sort of value. I feel like Fraser is going to be, at least it's a consistent growth, where SDK you're more likely to get the highs, and then you're going to have to deal with a couple of lows. So the good thing about potentially SDK, he does become a ruck option. So if you're using with the flex, even if you're somebody who's holding Flynn over this time, or it does open up opportunities, because when SDK does get the ruck, you might have to bring in another defender and put SDK into that flex position. And then you can obviously alternate him with your rucks and your backline. So, as I said, I don't mind the SDK pick, because it does open up some options for you. So maybe that's probably the way to go in regards to that. Hey, Carl, off the back of this carnage, hold Boyd and Flynn, stick fat with Perryman, and just move Patton on for a Warner top. I do like Warner, and let the dust settle and see how Lindsay goes. Yeah, it's best 18 anyway. So I know, as I said, I was talking to last year's winner, Joven, about this. He's got him at R2. He's not alone there. Quite a few people have players like that at R2. So, it's not the end of the world, because even if you flex your R2, cool, it's best 18. So, that's just one position ending up a 0 on. You've still got, 23 with your flex. So your flex is covering that. You've still got 22 players, and you're taking your best 18 score. So you can definitely get away with it. I've got no problems if that's the kind of way you want to go there, because, you can definitely get through and see. And you never know. Like, Williams might just stink it up, and Flynn just comes back next week. And there was a part of me, I was just sort of, once I saw the news, going, could I get away with holding Flynn? It's going to be a slow burn. He's still going to make money. His break even's like 10 this week. So if he gets in next week, he could still come out and score a 90. And even if he shares ruck, does he get a 70 or whatever, he still makes cash. But I get why everybody is thinking trade him out, because what happens if the case is Bailey Williams plays well and stays in, and then it's a whole different scenario. But at least now you get a week before to have kind of look at the situation. Somebody did message me and say, I'm bringing in Jackson because he's going to probably be around that top 6 forward option anyway. I think there's so many good forwards this year. Probably not as valuable as he was last year, but I do get it, especially if he's going to ruck for the next 2 or 3 weeks. We know what Jackson can do there. So that is one thing, unless you want to do the complete restructure and go out and get one of these rucks. But then that's probably a little bit harder to do, because the good ones are so expensive. Question I'm getting a lot, Fraser or SDK? Okay, I won't sit on the fence. I'll go SDK just because of the fact that he's going to get the dual position. So simple as that. Thanks for Jackson for that one. Cayman, thanks, Wiz. Also, who would you rather field, Pryor, Reid, or Trainer? So I've got Trainer on for the main reason he's playing Port Adelaide. We're playing Port Adelaide. I'll say we, because they're my boys. And I expect to see a lot of ball down there, just the way they kind of set up. Probably the worry that I'm just kind of having looking at Port Adelaide forward line. So what's it, Lukosius and Georgiades. It's only really the 2 key tools. So it probably would have been more of a worry if, I guess, they had Marshall as well to defend. But I think, the Trainer can at least be the 3rd tool, and, hopefully take some intercept marks, get a little bit of loose ball, and do reasonably well. I don't like Reid as much this week, because if you look at that Bombers backline, it's Mackay, Reid, and then there's going to be a 3rd tool. And this is also why I don't like Pryor this week. The Crows probably have the best forward line in the comp. Like, it is just full of talented players. So Big Tex, who's done it forever. Thilthorpe is him and Darcy are the next best things with those tall rucks coming through. So really like Thilthorpe. I think he's just going to take his game to the next step. And then you got Fogarty, who is their number 1 guy, can kick bags on any week. You got Isaac Rankin starting off on the half forward line, pushing up. We know these guys are gunning. He could be F1 this year. It wasn't a case of I didn't rate him. I was looking at starting him. I just like Neil better. That worked out well the first week, didn't it? And then Keys is a guy that just continues to bob up, does his job ever since coming over to Brisbane. So I've actually had a couple of guys come from other clubs in here. And then Neil Bullen, who was pretty good player at Melbourne, just adds so much to that forward line. So you've got 6 forwards who can play a role, get the ball moving up the ground, and be a link between the midfield and the forward line, and kick bags of goals. So that is my worry. And for Essendon tomorrow, I was saying this to my other half, going, I'm picking the Crows, because my worry for Essendon is, how do they stop the Adelaide? How do they kick a higher score than Adelaide? That's my bigger problem with them, because no Langford tomorrow. Obviously, Stringer's gone up to the GWS. It's going to be hard for me to see them kicking a score which is big enough to beat Adelaide, who just firepower. I think Adelaide's weakness is their defence. If you can get through their midfield, you can kick a score on Adelaide. But I feel like Adelaide's the kind of the Man City, Real Madrid. Yeah, we'll let 100 through, but we'll kick 120 against you, and very attacking sort of team. So against the good teams, I think they'll get found out. But the bottom teams, I think they, or mid-range teams, I think they'll score a big score. So that means Reid and even potentially Pryor are going to have to play lockdown, because Mackay is going to probably go to, well, he's either going to have to go to, it's a hard one. Does he go to Thilthorpe, or does he go to, to Tex, and does Reid go to maybe a Fogarty? And then, you're going to have Pryor, Redmond having to play the third on there. It's just, so I feel like they're going to have to play two lockdown. It's a big worry there. So that's why I like Trainer, because at least there's only the two tools down at Port. And then there's a couple of, they've got some better, smaller options. So I think he can at least free himself up. Hey, Andy, just had to reverse Ned Long. Yes, he is sub. If you've just joined on, thank you to everybody who's joined on. Ned Long is the sub tonight. So definitely you need to move him on. Because obviously that's stagnant. We saw the first week, the 30 points. And then last week had the most CPAs for Collingwood, but useless if you're going to be the sub, and potentially could get on at any point. Could get on in the first quarter. We saw last night, sub didn't come on until late in the fourth. Just becomes useless then. Would you go Lindsay, Lawler, or Kako? I'd go Lindsay. I love the role. Just wanted to see it last week. That's the only reason the only reason I didn't, because I actually said coming into the Friday show, I was setting it up with, was it Draper? That's why I took Nod out, because I was wanting to see out of Langford and Lindsay who was named, but I had a lot of confidence in going for Lindsay. But if Draper was sub, it was going to be an easy one. And then Levi Ashcroft just happened to happen last minute, and it became him. So that became one less headache for me. But Lindsay was one I was seriously looking at. Really like him in the play. I think he plays that wing role and the connection really well, and suits sort of Melbourne's game style. So it's all about him. Baggers, if Short goes well, and I'll keep him, trade Hasty out for Lindsay. Yep. And with another look at Reid, rookie forward, get 100 and goes, well, yep, 100%. And that's a good thing. Like he say, Ethan Reid, we get another look at him. So we don't actually need to do that. Like Bice, I could easily wait and get another look at him. And originally I was going to set my team up, and it kind of worked out well now, because Patton's obviously not playing. So I took him out, and I was looking at Bo Allen, but I did hear the news that the illness was a really bad illness. So that's why Bo didn't come in. I didn't set up my team as well as I was going to, just because, I was pretty confident Bo Allen wasn't going to play this week. And then I kind of just want to wait now until he's played the two games before I even think about that. So the fact that they even let Bice take kick-ins shows us some really good confidence about picking him. So, that's kind of the way I want to go there. Yeah, mate, all over it. Exactly. Michael, highly unlikely, but imagine if Flynn does a Levi and is a late inclusion as they are third game. Oh, mate. Yeah, 100%. It's going to be hard. I think, I wouldn't be able to. Oh, actually, I probably could, because the only way I could do it was boost. So I'd have to do it through, say, a Fino Sutherland situation. So I'd probably have to set it up. So how could I set this up? I think if I put Fino Sutherland, now I don't really want to trade, say, Finn, but what have I got there? 180K. I could do it as even a Hasty. I could just put Hasty on the swap that around, but that would put Bailey Smith on field. But then I could actually move Hewitt. So I could actually do Hewitt for Bailey. Actually, no, that doesn't work. Where is it here? Hewitt for Hasty, and then I could actually bring reverse Flynn back in if I wanted to do that. A little bit. And actually, because Hewitt's playing at the same time, I could just make Hewitt my flex. Oh, tempting. Thank you for actually even pointing that out. I wasn't even thinking about that, but there's a way of doing it, guys. If you've got a way to set it up with enough cash, like I've got 180K, and I don't think it happens, but I tell you what, if it did, I'd be happy to use kind of maybe a boost in that situation, and then Flynn does that. So just a little bit of left field thinking. Thank you, Michael. Love you guys, because you bring up stuff which is put sparks off in my head and I can, play around with my team in that situation. And for those who can't see, so there's Hewitt down, and then I can just swap him again with, Hasty. I'd have to set that up actually on, because Hasty's obviously playing the Saturday night. So Hewitt would have to be there, and Hasty would just have to be my flex. The only problem is I'm not got flex cover, but it's not the end of the world. But I can obviously, even still, there's ways of doing it. So I'm pretty happy with that. Now, what question was I up to? James, Bailey Dell or Holmes? Bailey Dell. Holmes has got a great role, but I've said it from the start. I think him, Nasiah, Wanganeen, Malira are capped. They just don't have the upscale that what Bailey Dell could have, especially him taking the kickouts, and then the 1-2s that he's getting. He got forward and kicked goals last week. It's just a great role. So huge fan of him. Holmes, solid pick. Thinking, great. I just don't think Geelong, the way they play as well. I feel like there are a lot of guys who are 105, 110 guys. Still good players, no problems, and you're happy to own some Geelong players. But when it comes down to the real, I've got to make a call out of them. I think that's an easy call. Stepping stones, exactly. Baggers. We'll move on. Have the three-headed monster. I like that. Gordon, Nank, and TDK. A few people from the three-headed monster to start off. Okay, Holmes and Bailey Dell or Houston for Perryman. The problem with Houston, he's got the bye next week. Otherwise, I'd nearly have him as my first pick, but Bailey Dell just as before, just cause. So, everyone's going on that. And, I'm more confident with Bailey Dell going forward just because absolute monopoly there. Holmes, the other issue with Holmes, like if it's Bailey Smith getting tagged, Holmes is getting tagged this week. Winhager's, that's what he's in there for. He's playing midfield. He's going to go tag someone. So, just something to consider. Here's why Hastways ended up going Perryman and Hasty to Bailey Smith and Bice. Too easy. Go Tigers. Thanks, mate. Hopefully we do something this week. I think it's going to be, somebody said was it Barrett today? Mission Impossible 1 last week, Mission Impossible 2 this week. Yeah, don't see the sequel happening the same way. Was that Swank Nabola? I hope I haven't stuffed that up. And Swank Nabola 69 wasn't going to make any trades yet. Same with me. And obviously, congratulations on the score 2-2-2-7. But with Patton and Flynn out on bringing O'Driscoll and Ashcroft in. Only mission I have now is Bailey Smith. Yep, cool. And that's easy. As long as you've got the cash, as I said, if you've got a plan long term that you can sort of get it in, it makes it easier. So hopefully you've got some cash off. I apologize, my Wi-Fi is about to drop out again. But if you've got some cash going, and you can sort of think there's a way to get, say, Sardis, if you've got him, Fino, Sutherland, one of them, and let's just say they don't work out. Bailey Smith might be. The other part to it with Bailey Smith might end up being, what if he gets tagged and he's not such a great option? So, that might be the old TV binoculars looking straight at who's Winhagen running to. All week I've been like, I think Bailey Smith's a big chance here. Now I'm really hoping, it's got to be Holmes. It's got to be Holmes. Put him on Holmes. Ed Richards, either the big C. Oh, no. Like Richards, I think he'll go well, but I don't think he's the captain. I've said this all week. Your captain's got to come from either Port Adelaide or vice captain, one of the two, Port Adelaide or Brisbane this week. Like Port Adelaide on the rebound after being beaten up all week in the media, especially led by Kane Collins, who loves his power and hates Richmond. That's an obvious for the rebound. And then Brisbane playing West Coast. West Coast are absolutely rank. No offense, West Coast supporters, but I'm on your forums. I'm seeing what your supporters are saying. It's it's going to be a long toil. Like I think you guys were hoping the new coach was going to change things. It's going to take time. Implement the game plan. Get the cattle around. It's just that's the way these things go. So I get it. Jackson, I'm a Cats man, so SDK makes it so much easier, especially because you're going to be down there probably watching games, or if you're not down there, you're going to be tuning in. So who to trade, Sardis or Sanders? I wasn't a fan of Sanders anyway. So I actually think it's him because you get another look at Sardis. They both could go, but I actually would prefer, I think you trade Sanders. And saying that he'll probably come out and smash it, and Sardis will probably be sub, but I'm not completely in love with that. He's not even named in them. Where does he say? He's starting off the bench. Riley West apparently starting them. It'd be interesting if that's how it actually happens. What have we got? About 15 minutes to game time. So it'd be interesting to see how that goes. But I don't like the Sanders pick at all. The Neil Dan forgot Rash also. Did I miss something earlier with that? I apologize if I missed a part of the conversation. Thanks a lot, Swiss. No problems, Caleb, all the best for this weekend, mate, like everybody. Carl, Top Blues, thank you. Yes, well done. Awesome. I do appreciate that. Okay, 0-0. I like that. Hello, I'm currently in an awkward spot. Yes, I currently have T-Trav, and it would put me in an awkward spot if he doesn't play. So trading him for Bice or Pryor, a good idea, or stick next week. Travalia. No. I think if you're going to go, it's going to be Bice. I think Pryor has to play more lockdown, and I think his job security it's just a little bit shaky. I think if they had a poor performance, Sada Halali was named part of the emergencies this week. Bombers could be looking for a little bit of a whipping boy down there. Bice, their mature age, the fact that they've dropped Patton. I feel like there's only Cunningham maybe out of the side still, but they clearly like him. He seems to be Quanah Cox's boy. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of Bice, especially you can tell when they let certain players have kickouts. Now, we were kind of robbed last night because Camperoli was going to get a kick out, and was it McGovern that sprinted down and took the ball off him? But yeah, for Sydney, like Blakey takes most of them, but the fact that they're happy for Bice to, potentially take one or two, it does show a lot. So I quite like that. Okay, who else we got here? Max Bingers, SDK or Fraser, for probably the 20th time tonight, SDK, but it's not that I don't like Fraser. I just like the fact that SDK is going to pick up dual position status for you, but a word of warning for round 4. So that is still the worry for it. So that you might not get the cash boost as quickly as maybe Fraser with the steady boost, but at least you're going to get dual position. Chabana, worth boosting Perryman to Stewart. I don't know if it's Stewart the one I want. I feel like you're going to have your head in your hands every week watching Stewart, because even last week it was like, oh, is this guy going to go concussed? He said, gee, just the way he plays, it's just a real worry about it. So I don't like it to Stewart. Do you have the cash to get the Bailey Dell? Do you have the cash to get at least Holmes? That's sort of at least there. Perfect world, do you have the cash to get up to Geordie Clark, Whitfield, even though he's not playing this week? Zorko, the big dogs. But if you don't, I think I would rather a Holmes or a Bailey Dell than a Stewart, mate. A few people last week were trying to convince me the Stewart pick, and he did fine, no problems. I just think he's just one injury. He always gets an injury early in a game. It happens every year. It's not like an injury to somebody can happen to anybody. And at least with the flex, you get it covered now. But I feel like Tom Stewart, of all players in the competition, every year seems to put up a 20 injury sub-defected score. And then we all pick him up for cheaper. It's just maybe this year's not the year, and you back yourself in Chapana. But I think I'm a bit stressed about him. And you've said that. Oh, but yeah, Bailey Dale, mate, 100%. 100%. The guys I had on pre-season, Matey and Official Wolf, they watch Bulldogs training. They're all over the Bulldogs forums. They know everything at the back of the Bulldogs. And they were so big on Bailey Dell. And they're not really even, one of them's not even a real Supercoach guy. It's just a Bulldogs guy, knows the Bulldogs in and out. And he was like, yeah, guys, get Bailey Dell into your Supercoach teams. So I nearly thought about, I felt like I was about 1,000 short unless I boosted, and then I probably could have done it. But yeah, it's like, it is tempting because I look at Bailey Dell, but then I'm like, oh, I'm probably going to need Bailey Smith. But and then there's another part of me. It's like, well, if Short doesn't work out, that extra money I can always go get him next week. I can always get Whitfield. There's options there for me anyway. So it's a little bit of that. You reckon Dell is inconsistent, a bit injury prone as well? Not really. Like, I feel like the last couple of years we've got enough proof out of him to show, he's in that sweet spot. He's got a ceiling. He showed that he's got a ceiling now. Now, I don't think he's going to come out and potentially score a 170 again. Like, it's more likely you might get the lower score, but I'm pretty confident on him. He looks fit. He looks good. Yeah, he had the little probably more managing him through the preseason, but I'm managing a few of their guys. But I like him. If you're not a big fan, James, go Holmes, then that's fine. But like anybody can get injured at any point, I did say, but at least I just love the role coming off a half back. I said it last week. He's a better version of Jaden Short. Does it way better than what he does. Kev, hey, so we're only 2 rounds in. Carnage, don't we love it, mate? This is what we live for. Supercoach and Carnage. Powell Pepper will go 80 plus this week. Everyone jumping off. Hoa, 100%, mate. I really hope he does. That's why I'm keeping him. There's nothing to lose. He's playing Richmond. He's going to be up forward. They're probably going. He only needs to get a hold of 2 or 3 snags, and he scores well. And then the 18 really doesn't mean anything because in 2 weeks it's out. So if he does go well, great. If he doesn't, flex position, best 22, covers it. He hasn't lost cash. And he just becomes Nod or Xavier Lindsay or any of those other guys for me next week. And I think people in the same. So I don't get the reason why you trade Nod. I don't get the reason about trading Neil. Somebody said his break even's 199. Cool. He's not going down in value this week. He's playing West Coast. Now, if he comes out and scores only 100 against West Coast, okay, cool. Let's reevaluate before the Geelong game. And maybe he becomes Noah Anderson or, Callahan or anything like that. There's plenty of options to turn Lockie Neal into somebody else. So let's worry about that for next week. Let's not do it. We don't need to move on for now. Dell and Lindsay or Holmes and Warner. I think you need Lindsay more than you need Warner. I like Warner. I think he's probably an unappreciated forward pick this year. But Lindsay's role, I just love it, and I like Bailey Dell more than Holmes. So that's the way I'd go. But and the fact that Warner does have the bye next week does play into that a little bit. I think the first option there, James. JTO sticking fat with Perryman, cool. Still think there's some versatility. Yep, I've got no problems with it. It wouldn't surprise me in the world that he comes out and scores 90 to 100, makes a little bit of cash at least. Hopefully, you get a couple of games like that, it resets and goes. No problem with it at all. And I was thinking about it before, but I was just like, if it was a case of Flynn wasn't out, I wasn't making a trade. As simple as that. I was going to just stick fat with Perryman. And I could still just potentially do that and be like, hey, cool. Flynn, just go down. And that's one rookie I don't have to deal with for next week. And I just send him down to Xavier, Lindsay, all's well in the world. But I'm like, here's a way to get Bailey Smith in anyway. So I feel like it's a much of a muchness for me. And it probably suits my backline, my structure more, because I probably was that one forward short. I thought the forward rookies would do a little bit better than what I was expecting. But I probably have loaded up a little bit too much on the midfield. But again, Chera was fine last night, spent half the freaking game on the bench and still scored 113. So I'm not disappointed with that. It'd be interesting to see his official splits for his defender status. I feel like it might have only been about 20% down, but geez, wouldn't we love wouldn't we love a game where he plays 50% back and he just gets he gets the 35% and gets dual position. I don't see it happening, but that would be brilliant. Everyone jumped off Nick Martin, and then went 3 tons. And that is a point. The difference is slightly the role. So if Houston wasn't there and Perryman had the monopoly on halfback, or he was like the number 1 or 2 midfielder, it's a completely different story. The problem is I feel like Houston's back there, so that changes that. So if he's down there, it doesn't work. And if he's playing midfield, he's probably got to play that little bit more defense because Dacos is attacking. To go, he's back. To go, he probably plays more forward tonight, but he's back. Pendles, side bottom, still doing side bottom things. Like Pendles and side bottom, especially Sidey, he's got to drop off at some point, doesn't he? I love the guy. He's by far my favorite Collingwood player. And he knows that. I've actually said that to him a couple of times. I do run into him. Probably of all the Collingwood players, I run into him way more than everyone else. And I feel like every time I see him, I'm like, Sidey, my absolute favorite. Love him. Sticking with Hasty for now. Yeah, why not? And then I can see if he gets back in next week. If he doesn't, cool. Because I want to keep that cash there depending on what I need to do next week. So the cash gives me options so let's just say Jaden Short doesn't work out. Cool. I keep the cash. He becomes Bailey Dell or Whitfield. I might need that cash to, there might be another guy that kind of pops up. Like I said, what if Jack Ross comes out and gets 120? Cool. So now I need to turn Sardis into Ross. Or maybe I can flip something around. Maybe it's Sardis down to Lindsay and Hasty up, but it gives me time to have a look. So cool. He can just sit there. He's not doing anything. Great. I'll make the decision next week. Lethal. What do you reckon was Bailey Dell or Whitfield? The fact that Whitfield's not playing this week, it's Bailey Dell, but I think Whitfield's the better one long term. Number one, Whitfield's got that role sewn up. He might even be better than last year. Geez, he looks good. But because he's not, if you need the player this week, then obviously it's Bailey Dell. If you can hold on a week, great. You just brought it up, Jason. Thoughts on Jack Ross? I was big on him. I mentioned him preseason as the biggest draft smoky we've got this year because he's going to be playing midfield and a lot more midfield. So for a guy that you're picking up should have been late in drafts. Unfortunately, I started letting the cat out of the bag to too many people, and people were jumping on way earlier than what I was hoping. So you've got that sort of situation where you can kind of look at him and go, yep, he's the, could be the guy. If he comes out and scores 60 or 70 this week, cool, he's not the guy. Great. If he comes out and scores, like I think I said the other day, was it 110? If he sort of gets 110 this week, then you seriously need to consider, and I was talking to Chris about this, and Chris was the same. He was like, seriously need to consider if he, gets in that sort of realm for this week. So, there's a lot to think about there in regards to which way you kind of want to go with, your mid prices. Potentially, as we said, Callahan will be on the bubble next week. A lot of people are liking him. There is a lot of options to kind of go with. We've got to be mindful of, all these players that we can potentially go. So you need plans. You need plans for quite a lot of them. So just putting it out there to really consider, think about that. I probably actually haven't touched on the probably the big one yet, which is the Friday night Draftstars, and I do apologize about that. It's just that it has been absolutely carnage. So I've been trying to answer as many of these questions as possible. In regards to, so I'm probably not going to get time to flick up the team quickly because we need to wrap up, but I will quickly just talk about rucks tonight. If you are playing Draftstars, you've got about 3 minutes to get your team in. Darcy Cameron is going to be sharing ruck time with Cox and Max Day. No, avoid him. So it's either going to be English or Sam Darcy. If you want the extra forward, I quite like Sam Darcy in there. Like Degoe's not bad price, but just the fact that he's coming back from injury, but he could definitely kick goals. So as a forward option, really like him. I think Lockie Schiltz at home is a different player than kind of away. And Riley West is meant to be playing midfield time tonight. So I really like the kind of Riley West pick at 8,940. Defenders, I think you pay up. There's plenty of decent ones who are cheaper they're actually talking about like Buku just before the game. One of the assistant coaches were interviewed. But I think you Bailey Dale, you've got Josh Dale Cost, you've got Houston. So there's not, you definitely can go there. The only problem is it's going to kind of leave you short. So I think you've probably got to pick one. For me, it's probably Bailey Dale, as much as I like Houston. And then maybe pick up one, even if it's say Houston, and maybe put him with a Bramble type is like, or a Bailey Williams, because they usually score reasonably well. So I hope that goes. Sorry, I haven't actually got the proper team up for that that I normally do. And then the midfield, probably Ed Richards is the obvious one, or Liberatore. Maybe Richards gets a little bit of attention from Perryman tonight. So Matty Kennedy as well is another good shout, who's a pure midfielder when it comes to there. And then if you kind of need a cheaper guy, remember Ned Long is not the option. I think Sam Davidson in his second game bounces back. So there's a little bit of draft stars for you guys just as we're about to finish off. Last couple of questions. G-Base, with Flynn dropped, who are the other options in the flex position? Oh, and I did apologize. So R2, as I said earlier, if you've got R2, you can potentially hold, or you're going to have to restructure, get up to one of these main guys, Gorn, Cherry, Nank are the main three. G-Bags, if you've got him the flex like you, under 300K, go down. So rookie Xavier Lindsay is probably the obvious one that a lot of people don't have. If you don't have Nathan O'Driscoll, but you can easily wait there. But I do like Lindsay. That gives you cash to make moves next week if you need to. So Aiden, what about Bailey Dale's style? It all depends on how many you have too. Like if you've got Sheasel, you can carry two. If you've got more, like you have Sheasel, you're probably going to have, you might have Cherry, probably got Horn Francis. Cool. It's not really that many. If your team's loaded with round 12, then that probably changes stuff. And then maybe you go the Geelong player in Holmes, because obviously it's round, 16, 17. So yes, I think 16. So it's that might be that's a decision, and I can't talk about that from a personal perspective because my team's slightly different to what probably yours is. Yes, Wanless sucks about Ned Long. Thanks for jumping on as always, Lukey. And Tony, last question. Hi mate, no way Baz is getting tagged. I would think surely they probably go Holmes, maybe they go someone else, but you never. It's Ross Lyon. Who knows, mate? Could do anything. Guys, thank you so much for jumping on. All the best for your Supercoach for the weekend, and I will be back next. Oh yes, and Ellie, last one. Cool. Yes, I am playing Richmond. there's nothing to lose there. Nothing to lose. So, yes, guys, thank you. And we'll be back next week and to talk more Supercoach. Good luck, guys. Oh, and if you've got any last questions, feel free. Hit me up, Swizz26 on X. That's probably the best way to do it too. Catches.